All right, you guys, so here we go. We're talking about transformations of any equations. So they can be y equals x squared, y equals x cubed, doesn't matter. Here's your golden rule for transformations. So, A, what's that? Well, that'll be your leading coefficient. If it's greater than 1, like 2, 2.5, 10, vertical stretch. If A is a fraction, or a decimal less than 1, you're going to have a vertical shrink. If A is negative, you're going to reflect it over the x. If B is negative, you're going to reflect it over the y. And I'm going to show you some examples of this in a minute. Plus C means left C, minus C would be right C. Those are a little bit of an opposite rule there. Plus D, up, down, minus D, down. Now give me a second. All right, so what do you see? You see a couple of examples here. So we got our parent function, y equals x squared, and we know that is just your standard parabola. But then with a red marker, I put a negative in for my a. It's my leading coefficient. The rule is it reflects it over the x. So you're like, oh, that's easy. If this is my x-axis, you just flip it. And yeah, you're right. Now, is that all there is to that? No. You got to be careful now. So let's take a look at this. We've got a is 1, so we're not worried about that. That's our normal parent function. This moves it to the right one, the vertex. So we're going to go right 1, and that's going to go up 1. And now we've got our parabola, not perfect, right there. Now if you notice the red one, I got fancy and I put f of x. F of x is just y. It's just a different equation. The only thing I changed was that. Now if I'm going strictly by what I've taught so far, reflected over the x-axis, I would take this and I would go like this. And that is wrong. Now I could spend a long time explaining why, but on these videos I'm going to save you some time. When this is not, see how this is connected to the x-axis? It just flips over the x-axis. If this is not connected to the x-axis, it's like the xy axis. Here's my new y-axis, here's my new x-axis, and I'm going to flip it over that. So if you've ever shot a gun with a scope on it, it's got crosshairs. It's kind of like that moved it. The crosshairs right 1, up 1, so that the x-axis and the y-axis kind of follow that. And now we're going to flip it over the x-axis, we're talking this one, so then it would look like this. And if you don't trust this stuff, go to decimals.com and just type this in so you can build your confidence. I got to pause this a second. All right, continuing on. Now I'm going to show you little different curveballs this math book is going to throw at you. You just have to basically don't panic. Trust what you've been taught. So they're saying, all right, if g of x equals this graph, so they just give it to you, then they're going to say, all right, what does this do? What transformation happens? Well, this, don't panic, is the same thing as in here. So this is plus 2, which is plus c. And remember, that's left c. So that's going to move this whole thing left 2. And then this is our letter d from right here. And if that's plus d, that goes up 1. So this is just left 2, up 1. So I'd take that vertex, left 2, up 1, and then I would just draw it to the best of my ability. Don't worry about being perfect. Now what's this? Red marker. Well, this is saying, take the original. I'm going to focus one piece at a time. That's going to be reflect over the x. But remember, this is being compared to this, not this. We already did that problem, and that's the green one. So let's get rid of that. What does that do? It reflects it over the x-axis. But remember, the x-axis has been kind of sort of moved like crosshairs. So that's like the new origin, in a way. And so now we're going to reflect it over the x, which would be like this. Why am I doing it dotted? Because I know I'm not done. If that's a whole number, That's a vertical stretch. What does that mean? It means it's going to go, the y is going to increase faster in a negative direction. There's no plus or minus c, then it's minus 2. So I got to take that last one I drew and drop it down 2 units and do my best job trying to draw it a little skinny. And that's a lot of what your homework assignment is going to look like, just making those adjustments. All right, so a couple more examples on the board. This one should be a little easier actually compared to the one I just finished. If f of x equals x squared, so if I take all of these x's and just square them, I'd get 9, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4, 9. And I've already graphed it. So, what does this look like? Well, you kind of already know it's going to be a vertical stretch, but some of these problems are going to want you to actually like label some of your x's. So, what is f of x? Well, that's the same thing as y. So really all you're doing is you're doubling all these y's. So that would be 18, 8, 2, 0, 2, 8, 18. Now, so this did say f of x. All it's going to do is go up a lot faster. All right. So what does this mean? That means take whatever y value you had for this f of x, which is all of these, and simply cut them in half. So it'd be 4.5, and then 2, and then 0.5, and then 0, then 0.5, 2, 4.5. If I plotted all those points, 0, 0, negative 1, 0.5, 1.5. 2, 2, negative 2, 2. And as you can see, this is a vertical shrink, which they also call a compression. All right. So that's that for now. Okay, this pre-calc curriculum is kind of crazy. I think you'll get used to it. Then out of nowhere, it's like, hey, let's practice reviewing our factoring trinomials. Well, this is a trinomial, which will always factor into 2 binomials. So you take the square root of that, put it here and here, just to kind of give you an idea of how to get started. Now we look at that last term and we ask ourselves, what 2 factors of 8 add up to 6? Well, I could go 8 and 1, negative 8, negative 1. I could go 4 and 2, negative 4, negative 2. And that's it. And these 2 add up to positive 6. So I go plus 4, plus 2. Done for now. This one's got a little trick in it, and here's the deal. You're like, uh-oh, it's one of those hard ones. No. So if you notice those are all evens, the first thing you should do is just take out a factor of 2. And then you're like, aha, now I've got a trinomial that I can deal with, which is just like this. So I'm like x, 2 factors of 8 that add up to 6, plus 4, plus 2. Try to look for taking a number out first. It'll make your life so much easier in the long run. And that is the end of your lesson for this section.